of you received, hopefully all of you received the workbook that that I put together for this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a very high level, quick, kind of a Cliff Note version of what we did in the first session. And the reason I'm doing that is I want you all to have a little bit more context as to what this session is about. So as I go through it. So are you running the business, or is the business running you? And one of the things that I want you all to think about is right now, I want you to be present. I really would like for you to turn off any of your other electronic devices and really focus on what this is about today. It's, it's under 60, it's 60 minutes. And really it's, if you are present and you listen and you take notes, you will get something out of this that you can immediately take back to your business and start using. So first of all, I always like to congratulate small entrepreneurs, because there are 30.2 million small businesses in the United States, and 58.9 million jobs are being created and provided for due to those small businesses. And I think this is a really astonishing number that a lot of people don't think about, and it really does make a difference. I mean, it helps the community. You all know that. That's why you're doing this. So many times when I work with small business leaders, entrepreneurs, they're frustrated. These are typically the 5 reasons of, I just don't feel like I'm making enough profit. I've hit the ceiling. Nothing's working. I'm just out of control. To paraphrase George Jetson, Jane, get me off this crazy thing, when he was on his treadmill. And what we want to do is I want to provide the context for you if you focus on 6 key components. And what I usually do, and when I present this with anybody, is it's a journey of discovery. And so what I start at the end to show you what it looks like, and then how we take you through that journey, how you can do this yourself. And as many of you heard me say, I'm an EOS implementer, and EOS stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System. And what we find is with any small business, really any business, if you can focus on these 6 key components, it really is magic. And what we find is when I do a kind of a organizational checkup with my clients, and I ask them, well, where do you feel that you are in this 6 key components? They really are working more around the 20 to 30% strong in these 6 key components, essentially operating in spite of themselves and being successful in spite of some of the challenges and difficulties that they run into on a daily basis. And so what I want to see happen is you to get strong in all 6 of these key components, 80% stronger or better. I'm not talking about 100% strong, because that's that perfectionist, crazy world that I don't want to live in a utopian society. So what we talk about is the first one is, let me go back. So what we're going to do is, in the first session, I talked about vision, people, and data. And in this section, we're going to go into a deeper dive of the issues and the process and the traction component. But as I said, I want to do a quick recap of what we went through in the part 1 session. So vision just means getting everybody on the same page, rowing in the same boat, executing on your vision. People component, making sure you have the right people in the right seats. Data component, running your business on facts and figures versus subjectiveness or emotions that sometimes takes place in an entrepreneurial company. Issues, what happens is when your vision, people, and data component really are strong, issues happen. It's natural. So I'm going to introduce you to a tool and a technique on how we set your issues up, allow you to solve them, and then knock them down and make them go away forever. And then the process component. You all have a handful of core processes. What we want to do is document those core processes and then get them followed by all. And then finally, we bring that vision down to the ground and we start executing on that traction. And I will introduce you to 2 tools and concepts on how to gain traction. So let's talk the vision component. So last session, we went through and answered these 8 key questions. And these 8 questions live in the document that you have, and should be pages 4 and 5, and it's called the Vision Traction Organizer. And so last session, we went through a step-by-step on how to understand what your core values are, you know, who you are as an organization, then your core focus, why you exist, your core target, whether it's a 5, 10, or 15-year target, you know, where is it you're heading? What is that big, hairy, audacious goal that you want to get to? Then we talked about the marketing strategy, and it's a simple way of documenting your demographic, geographic, your psychographic of those individuals, those clients, those companies you want to, you know, go after. And then what are your 3 uniques? What are those 3 key differentiators that separate you from the rest of the competition? Your proven process, and then a guarantee, promise, or pledge. And so once we know, you know, the core values, who we are, the core focus, why we exist, the target, and our marketing strategy, then we can break all that down into the 3-year picture. And what we always look at is the same measurable. So you've got a future date, you have revenue, profit, you've got a measurable, and then what does it look like? What are those steps that you need to take to make that 3-year picture happen? And then once we finish this top part, you'll notice this is the vision part of the Vision Traction Organizer. Then we shift over to the second page, which is the traction component. And the traction component is just how you're going to do what you're going to do. It's like the old joke, how do you, eat an elephant? Well, it's one bite at a time. Same thing with your business. How are we going to attack that core target that you came up with? So you've got your 3-year picture broken down on the other side, on the vision side. And now we come down to the 1-year plan, and you'll notice it's still future date, revenue, profit, and measurables. But then what are those big goals that you need to accomplish for the year to move the business forward? And in this scenario that I've created for you all here as an example, we talk about goals for the year. And I really encourage anyone, specifically, my clients, only to have 3 to 7 goals. I kind of like 5 goals because that's achievable. It feels like you can get it done, especially that first year. And so that's what we focus on with that. So then once you have your 1-year plan, we then break it down into those quarterly rocks, and I'll show you what that means in a little bit. But basically it's just breaking it down into a 90-day world, and what are the key rocks that you need to accomplish for the quarter to help you get back maybe to that 1-year plan of the goals. And then who, this is the most important part of this, who is responsible for completing and finishing that rock for the quarter. And then, as I mentioned, as I take my clients through this, you have issues that pop up. And what we do is we just collect those issues and we keep them on a document, and I'll show you how to solve those issues here in a little bit. So that is the Vision Traction Organizer. And then once we get that completed, we share it with everyone in your organization. Say you've got 100 people in your organization. Fantastic. We just want to get all those 100 individuals visualizing, understanding what your vision is. It's in your head. Now it's on a piece of paper. Now they can understand their task at hand and what they need to do to execute on that vision. So that's 100% strong in the vision component. And then next, we've got right people. And the right people simply mean your core values, that they exhibit your company's core values. So what we did in the VTO, what are your core values? And we use this in the People Analyzer to hire, fire, and review and reward your individuals. It's a really easy black and white approach to that employee review that happens maybe once a quarter, at least, hopefully every year. And we just go through a simple plus, minus, or minus scenario. Plus, they exhibit that company core value, 80% of the time or more. Plus, minus, sometimes we all have bad months. And then minus, they're not even close to exhibiting that core value. So we set a bar, you determine that on what is most important for you, but it allows us to have a very non-emotional conversation with a direct report, a staff member, a team member, on how you can coach them up to be, to match your core values that are right for your organization. So right people, they exhibit your company core values. Right seats, well, what we create is an accountability chart. And in any organization, you have the three-legged stool that supports your business. So finance, how you bring in money, how you pay your staff and your team members. Operations, how you deliver that product or service or goods. And then sales and marketing, how you go out and win the work and the collateral that's used with that work. We also have an individual we call an integrator, and they're the person that holds the company together. They're the glue. They just run the day in and day out with your sales and marketing team and your operations and finance team. So this is what we deem as your leadership team. Another 50% of the time, we're going to have what we call a visionary. And the visionary, they're at the 30,000-foot level. They come to every meeting with maybe 30 different ideas. They just have all this energy, but we don't want the visionary to be in control of the organization, because that's when you get spikes in your organization because they can't stay focused. Focus is what the integrator does, and they make sure that the business runs harmoniously. So when we go through this for right seats, we determine what the functions are in the organization. So this will break down to whatever makes the most sense in your organization. And then under those functions, we come up with the 5 roles and responsibilities related to that seat. And then what we do is we go through another exercise of get it, want it, and capacity to do it. So when we have a blank organizational chart, it will just have the functions, it will have the roles and responsibilities. Then we put people's names in seats, aces in places. And what we do then is we do a GWC performance review to say, does Sally GWC the integrator seat? And what we always want, the bar for this is always yes, yes, and yes. So it means that Sally gets it. She understands mentally what it takes to do this job and do it well, to live in that seat. She wants it. She wakes up every morning and she wants to be the integrator. Capacity. Does she have the time capacity, the skill sets, the emotional capacity, even sometimes maybe the physical capacity to sit in that seat? And in the world, in the EOS world, we always want this to be a yes. If anybody is a no, that is going to be a real challenge. And typically they're not the right person in the right seat in your organization. So then we moved on to the data component, and that's creating and running your business on a simple scorecard. And we do that with a company scorecard. And essentially the idea is, if you were on a desert island and someone rowed out in a boat and handed you one piece of paper and said, this is how your business is running for this last week, you would look at it and go, okay, it's going well, they're predicting well, then I'm going to stay on the island for another day or 2 or 3. But if you start to see, oh my goodness, our sales seems to be, it's been dropping off, what are we doing to fix it? Then it allows you to say, I need to come back. So it's 3 to 15 numbers that we want you to come up with for your company scorecard. And you will notice in the scorecard, you have the measurable, and then you always have somebody who's accountable for it and a goal. So that's the company scorecard, and that's the measurables. And ultimately, everyone in the organization, every single person should have at least one measurable that they're held accountable for in their daily job. So once we get, as I said before, vision, the people, and data component running and humming along, then issues just start popping up. It's natural. So how do we fix those issues? And now we're going to start on this session. So issues. As we go through this process, and if you go through this process together yourself, just keep a running list, just a piece of paper or a Google Doc, and just start writing down your issues. It's not meant to be a to-do list or a task list. It's truly issues that you are trying to solve and make them go away forever. Well, one of the tools that we do is called IDS. And IDS simply stands for identify, discuss, and solve. So identify what is the true root cause of the issue and discuss. Let's discuss it. How do we, what are the options for solving it? And then we come up with the solve. What tends to happen a lot, and I'm sure many of you have gone through this, is you're in a meeting and you identify, you discuss, and you solve, but you discuss and you never solve. We want to get past that. So this is how you do it. So basically, you've got your issues up on the board or the wall or the whiteboard, and you and your leadership team, you take 10 seconds, and however many issues you look at or how many issues are on that list, and you say to yourself, what are the top 3 issues I need to solve? We, as a leadership team, need to solve this week to move the business forward. So everybody gets, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it takes. And then you just say, all right, what's number 1, 2, 3? Number 1 is rent. Number 2 is sales. And number 3 is employee X. So let's dig into number 1, which is rent. What is the issue? Okay, identify. Let's truly dig down. What is the problem with our rent? Step 2, we're going to discuss it. Step 3, we're going to solve it. So when we set up the identify portion of this, one technique that we can do is called who, one sentence. And in EOS world, we say less is more and keep it simple, smarty. So who, one sentence. Whose issue is it? Who put it up on the board? And then in one sentence, clearly delineate and identify what the true issue is. Then in your discussion, as you go through this, if you don't feel like you're digging down to the true root cause of what the issue is with rent, keep asking yourself the 5 whys. And then you solve it. And when you solve it, someone is raising their hand and say, this is the solve, I will take this on and I will move us forward. So then you move on to the next issue, which was number 2, which is sales. So the idea is here that you're just knocking these issues up, you're setting them up, you're understanding precisely what their issues are, you're discussing them, not saying anything more than once. If you say it more than once, you're politicking. You're holding each other to a disciplined conversation, and you're solving it. Then you do number 2, it's solved, then number 3, and it's solved. Then you go back to the list and say, okay, what are the next 3 issues we need to solve? So that is IDS, that is issue solving track, and that's what 100% strong looks like in that component. So next, we've got our core processes, and what we want to do is we want to have them documented. So we all know that these are core processes that exist within any organization, but you may have something specific to your organization. And what we want to do is we want to come up and document those core processes very simplistically, and then figure out which ones are going to help us grow sustainably and in a sustainable manner. So what we do is we just get the group together, the leadership team together, and we say, okay, what are your company core processes? And we basically just write them up on a wall. And then once those are identified, we say, okay, which one are we going to document? And then we break it down and we try and create a very succinct documentation on what the process is. I use the EOS process on this slide as an example. And it's just a simple way of when I work with a client, this is our EOS process. So when you have an onboarding of a new client, you may have an onboarding process. And it can either be graphic in nature or it can be just in a Word document format. Not a whole lot of, you'll notice there's not a whole lot of detail here. I'm just hitting the highlights. And that's only what we want you to do. Again, it's that entrepreneurial approach, that 20% approach of documentation to get you 80% of the way there. So then once all of those key processes are documented, you just want them followed by all. And that just means going through a training session and ensuring that everyone has seen and reviewed and looked and understood, and they understand those key processes. What this does is it allows your business to grow in an organized fashion, in a very succinct fashion. And then when you bring on more people, you aren't reinventing the wheel enough, again. You can just say, this is the XYZ way of doing business here. And we want you as a new member of our team to understand the bigger picture of how things get done within XYZ Corporation. And then once a year, once you document your core processes once a year, we just want you to review them, make sure they still work. Do they need to be modified? Do they need to be adjusted? Has something happened with technology that it's now changed it? So that's 100% strong in the process component. And then finally, we're going to bring that vision down to the ground, and we're going to start executing. And we're going to talk about rocks, and I'll give you an example of a meeting agenda that will help you get through this. So rocks, I want to show you this. If you haven't seen it, they do a much better job than I do. So I'm going to let you, hopefully this works. Come on. Oh, don't do that to me. There we go.
Your name is Elizabeth. Elizabeth. You have a work life?
I do.
Family life as well?
Mm-hmm.
Children?
Not yet.
Not yet. What's the nature of your work assignment?
I direct an international firm.
An international firm?
Mm-hmm.
So you really are interfacing with all kinds of people in the firm and outside the firm.
That's right.
You want a rich personal life and a rich family life. Do you ever feel like you get bogged down in the thick of thin things?
Yes.
Well, that might be analogous to all these little, small things that tend to fill our life. And that just little by little, they just accumulate. Now, your job, you can't go above this, is to get all those large rocks in the jar. Good luck. What's that one called?
Q2, planning, preparation.
Right. Planning, preparation, prevention, and empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the next rock you put in there is called relationships and family. You didn't look at that third rock you put in there. That's employment, some key employment issue, and then you put major projects here. I can't get it above there. Oh yeah, that's right. That's there. That's called service, community, church. You ever feel like this?
Yeah.
How many feel like this? By moving the little things around, you might squeeze in one more of those big major things. It's almost, wow. You know, if it doesn't fit, force it. Here's something that's called urgent and important. It's a quadrant 1 thing that is blindsiding you, that your biggest client, that if you don't get back to that client now, you've given up your vacation. And you have no special block of time just for yourself. I'll tell you what you can do if you want to. You can take a whole different approach. You have a totally fresh bowl. You can work out of a different paradigm altogether.
Well, then I'd rather put these in the bottom. And then for the little pebble one.
employment,
big opportunity,
big opportunity,
important and urgent, block of time. Those young children keep looking at me. My husband's not here. No, I don't these in there.
okay?
So the idea with the rocks is that you focus on the big things first. And the idea that he's trying to convey in rocks is that if you focus on the large magnitude of importance of ideas or issues that you want to get done, then the little things just fall into place and you don't sweat the small stuff, is really what we're talking about. And as you noticed on the Vision Traction Organizer, rocks are the 90-day world that we're asking you and the leadership team to live in, starting at the leadership team level, and then ultimately as it's migrated down into the rest of the organization, it's set up for that. So next is the level 10 meeting. On a level 10 meeting, what we want you to do is, as a leadership team, or if you're a leadership team of one, every week you have a meeting. And it's a level 10 because it's the same day, it's the same time, it's the same agenda. You start on time and you finish on time. That means that's what a level 10 means. So what happens in a level 10? So you come in, so if your meeting is at Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock, you're on your Zoom or you're in the office at 8:55, everything turned on, ready for you and the leadership team to start immediately, promptly at 9 o'clock. We do good news. And what's happened is we want to convert, it's this mind shift from working in the business to pulling yourself up like a board of directors and working on the business. So the good news, you're just going to do kind of a speed dating, a 5-minute check-in. Everyone's going to go round robin of a personal best and a business best that's happened in the last week. Very succinct. It's kind of that quick hit of a water cooler conversation before you head into a meeting. Then you pull out your scorecard and you read off each measurable of the scorecard, the person's name, and it's either on track or off track. If it's on track, great. If it's off track, you say off track, drop it down. Then you do the same thing with your rock review. Once you have your rock list, you'll read each of them out. You'll read who's responsible and say on track or off track. If it's off track, you drop it down. Your people, customer, employee headlines, anything that you just want to make the rest of the team aware of. Again, very quick hit, very succinct. To-do list. As you develop your level 10 meetings and have them every week, you're going to come away with to-dos. And it's just reading off your to-dos and saying they should be to done. To-dos are 7 days, 7-day tasks, if you will. So you're just making sure that you're holding everyone on the leadership team accountable. And by using these tools, you're instilling discipline. So in 25 minutes, you've gone from working in the business to pulling yourself up to working on the business. And now these next 60 minutes, you're going to spend IDSing, identifying, discussing, and solving from your issues list. So remember, when we said that the scorecard and rock review, maybe you had a couple of things that weren't on track and you said drop them down. They live in this IDS world. And the idea is you've got this brain power, you've got, this amazing leadership team, and you want to spend the majority of the time figuring out what your issues are, identifying them, discussing them, and then solving them and make them go away forever. So you may have a scorecard or rock review, something that drops down, but when you look at the entire list as a whole, you may realize, yeah, that's like those little baby pebbles in the example of rocks. That doesn't matter right now. We've got three more important things that we need to focus on. So after IDS, then we conclude. So from IDS, there may be cascading messages that need to be discussed and shared with everybody. There may be some to-dos. Whatever it is, we collect those, and then we make sure that everybody is on task for doing what that is. And then we rate the meeting. And we rate the meeting from 1 to 10, 10 being the best, and 1 being the worst. What we want you to do as you rate your meeting, we're wanting you to see progress as you move forward and move forward into the year in business. So that is the level 10 meeting. And that completes what traction, the 6th key component, is about, related to rocks and meetings. So that, in a nutshell, is your EOS model. And what I've introduced you to in these 2 sessions are these foundational tools for EOS. And so you've got the Vision Traction Organizer, which is that 2-page strategic plan, if you will, for your organization, for your company, the accountability chart, making sure that you have an accountability chart, not only for currently, how your business currently is, but also looking ahead 6, 8, 10, 12 months down the road. Because as you grow, you're going to realize, I can't do everything. And so because of that, I need to, I need to make sure that I've got seats that are open, and I may start outsourcing certain things like my finance for my invoicing or bookkeeping or IT, or I may even hire a fractional marketing person or a fractional salesperson. And then your rocks, again, what we're trying to do is help you stay focused on a 90-day world. I mean, we all get burnout. It's just natural. We're humans. But if we can focus on a 90-day world, and then when we're done with that quarter, take a look back, go, how did we do? Okay, great. Now let's set the rocks for the next 90 days and move forward. You're going to help with that happening by having and creating and holding a level 10 weekly meeting. Again, starting on time, finishing on time, using the same agenda, and just holding each other accountable during this. And of course, your company scorecard. The scorecard is not going to evolve overnight. I mean, you're not going to wake up the next day and go, oh my God, here's my scorecard. It takes my clients anywhere from 3, 6 months, even a year, to get comfortable with the scorecard of those 3 to 5 numbers that really show that your business is humming along. So when you put all this together, you're going to have less is more. If you focus on those foundational tools and focus on strengthening the 6 key components, you're going to walk away with a much stronger vision for your company. If you want to learn more and you are a DIYer, if you will, EOS has this really robust group of books. All of them are great. The traction book is essentially what I've shared with you in these last 2 sessions, and it breaks it down a little bit more. Get a Grip is the story of a company actually going through the EOS process and the journey. And it's really has some great nuggets in it as well. How to Be a Great Boss. It just talks about the tools that I've shared with you today and how you can use those to inspire and rally your team members. Rocket Fuel is that yin and yang that exists between the visionary and the integrator, and how those two seats can work together in those individuals. And then finally, what the heck is EOS? When clients decide to take the journey with EOS, usually 6 to 8 months, they say, okay, we want to roll this out to the rest of the organization. And this is just a very quick read that all of your staff and team members can read to understand EOS as a whole. So with that, I'm going to stop. And if anybody, we've got what, 20 minutes or so, and we can just kind of IDS and help each other out for this last 20 minutes, or if you have questions on a tool that I went through. So just unmute yourself and raise your hand and ask any questions if you like. And if not, we can end early. Hi, Janelle.
Hi, I'm sorry I lost Wi-Fi for part of your presentation. Is there any way I could get the slide deck or a summary of that?
Yeah, we're going to do this just like we did last time. I'm going to
Perfect.
PDF this and I'll send it to Hadiza and she'll send it out to everybody.
Yep.
Awesome.
And then there will also be video playback via YouTube available once Public Affairs gets it ready. So I will first follow up with, actually, I think what I'll do is I will just wait until the YouTube playback is ready, and then I'll send that with the PowerPoint presentation, PDF version of it.
Okay, that's great.
I was just going to make a comment that overall with your presentation last week and this week, I can see how the benefits of having this ladder framework give shape to your like amorphous ideas. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, great. And you know, Janelle, the great thing about this is even if you just do the level 2 meeting and you use that as a tool, most of my clients say it makes them so much better just in a couple of weeks because it makes everybody focus on, hey, we're in this room for 90 minutes to get things done. And that's pretty powerful, I think. Kita, you have your hand raised. You want to unmute and how can we help?
And like I said, I've seen the EOS before. I think it's awesome. But I'm trying to figure out after sitting through the presentation with a startup that's at the very, very beginning, and I'm the only person in it right now. How would you recommend, what's the best way to implement some of this stuff? What things make sense, what don't, or how do I kind of adapt these to that situation where I'm a one-person startup for the time being?
Well, you can have a company scorecard that's just you.
Okay.
Like for example, I have my own company Excel spreadsheet, and I have a handful of numbers related to EOS, and then personally of things that I want to do. Like I want to make 20 phone calls a week. That's my sales pipeline. That's my process that I go through. And making, at the end of the week, looking at myself in the mirror and say, did you make your 20 calls? No, you didn't. Well, okay, got to fix that for the next time. So you could come up with your own company scorecard of measurables to keep yourself, accountable, if you will. And then as far as rocks, I have my own VTO that I use for myself, and I've filled everything out. And I set a 10-year target. I have a 3-year plan. I have a 1-year plan, and I have quarterly rocks. And in my quarterly rocks, I hold myself accountable in my own level 10 meeting that I do for myself. It's not 90 minutes. It's just me sitting down with a piece of paper and a pencil, but it's really looking at it and going, you did not do this last week. What are you going to do this week to make up for it? And really holding myself accountable and with the discipline. So I would, the VTO, we see people that use this personally. We see people that use it for one person. And then, I would make the effort to go ahead and fill it out and use that for yourself. So those are the couple of the tools that I would do. Does that help?
Yes, very much so. Thank you.
Sure. Michelle or Vivian? Oh, Michelle just left. Vivian, do you have any questions? Who wrote something in the chat? I didn't see it. Applying these worksheets to a small business of one.
I am muted. Sorry, I was just reading that out loud and I was muted. So
Yeah.
Vivian said, applying these worksheets to a small business of one would help you learn how and when to outsource hire talent, figure out if you are spinning your wheels on something meaningless instead of main goals, and outlining thoroughly to help you keep a focused mindset. Sorry.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. So, and that's what I was kind of thinking as well, Vivian, to kind of echo what you just said. He did kind of to like just
Yes, thank you.
add.
Yeah. And then
your answer, Sonya.
Another exercise that I suggest is I don't know, you don't have to do this every week, but just if you just feel like you're truly out of control and you have way too many hats on, take a clarity break and sit down and just write out everything that you have done in the past week or in the past day. And then start looking at where do those things live? What buckets do they live under? Are they HR related? Are they sales related? Are they marketing? Are they invoicing? Is it IT related? And then ask yourself, who could I hire to do this? Who could help me? Not how am I going to get it done, but who? Dan Sullivan just came out with a great new book called Who Not Hire, Who Not How, Who Not How. And it's really thinking about it in those terms, because you may say, I don't want to spend my time invoicing. So can I find somebody to outsource all of my invoicing for me and just keep track of all of that? Same with IT. I don't want to be, that's IT. That's not me. It changes on a daily basis. Who could I hire to be a part-time consultant or as needed consultant for me when I need that? So really think about, you only have so much bandwidth and you've got to make the most of it for where you want to live to your unique ability, what drives the passion within you.
Yeah.
So that's a really another good one, just a technique to use.
Yeah. And I want to kind of attach something to that, Sonya, if you don't mind. So I want to like back up a second. Keita, I know you are running basically a brand new startup. It's a franchise. And then Vivian, you mentioned that you are currently evolving a business. So I wanted to very briefly talk about a resource that might be useful for both of you in this situation, Keita, where you're at the beginning, and Vivian, where you're kind of at a pivot. In addition to everything that Sonya talked about today, there is a tool. I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen. There's a tool available through the Kansas City Public Library digital catalog. Can you guys see this page, KC Public Library?
We can.
Awesome. Okay, so it's called Gale Business Plan Builder. And basically what this tool does is you can think of it as something to kind of lean on from if you were, oh, I think I want to be an entrepreneur, but I don't know, I don't have an idea yet, to I have an established business that's been operating for about a year and I'm ready to do financial projections to get in the position to get loans or funding of others from other sources. And if this will just go and work for me, I would be able to show you. There we go. Yeah, things are very slow. The internet these days. So I'm just come on, let's go. Okay, so if you're not familiar with the digital catalog for Kansas City Public Library, if you don't already have a library card, you're going to need to get one. So you can call the main line and I'll make sure to have that number included in our recap email. But you would put in your username, which would be your card number, and then you will set, if you don't have one already, you'll set or you'll use your 4-digit PIN number. So finally so this is the homepage of Gale Business Plan Builder. And basically this is for if you are new to entrepreneurship, if you're experienced as a business owner and currently operating, or if you're a nonprofit. And so you will create an account, a separate account from your library card, because this is a tool that you go back to. It saves your work. So I'm going to sign in with my account. I know that this is on another screen, so. Does it say that my screen is paused right now? Let me do that again. Now we're in. Okay, so this is what the inside of the tool looks like. So as you can see on the left-hand side, I'm assuming everybody on this call is in the for-profit business world. But if you want, you could also select nonprofit and it would adjust it for the nonprofit world. So there's 5 modules, starting with entrepreneur profile. And I wanted to point this out, specifically, Sonya, from what you were saying, just kind of like digging into yourself personally as a business owner, like as far as like capacity and things like that. I think it's always good to check in with yourself, whether you're at the very beginning or you're at kind of like a pivotal point where you're starting in a new direction or adding something new to your business. You don't necessarily need to answer all of these questions, but specifically, just taking stock of what personal and professional relationships you have that can support the new business or the new direction in your business. What kind of support network can you already rely on? And then these 2 here, what do I know how to do and what do I love to do? These are important to kind of think about outside of what you're doing in the business itself. To think about what are some transferable skills that I could use to apply to this new business or this new direction. And what is it that gives me joy? What fuels me about this? And anything else in my life that I might be able to include in this. So this is just a tool that's here, that's available for you to just like basically flesh it out. It's not necessarily something that you would share with somebody else. It's just for those people that writing things down, you know, I think that's everybody personally. When you are working through something that seems daunting and nebulous, when you have a tool like this, it can really help you just in the process of getting the thoughts out. And so I also want to show you module 2 here, which is the lean canvas. And if you're not familiar with this already, this is just kind of a modified version of the business model canvas. It's what I like to call like the pre-business plan. So for any strategic direction that you're going in, you're going to have concrete things that you're going to have to think about. And I'm very happy to go through this in depth with people one-on-one. So I'm not going to go through each of these, but this is a tool that's available to you. So just, there's so much in here that I feel can be used as tools to assist you in the process of strategic planning, attacking those big rocks and seeing where all the little rocks fall. So I just wanted to share that very briefly. And so what I will do after we end this today is you will be getting an email with the PDF version of the PowerPoint as well as the playback link. I think what I'm going to do is, I know that I said this differently earlier, but I think what I'm going to do is share the PowerPoint PDF, a link to a LibGuide, which has basically a summary of all of the business related resources available through the digital catalog, as well as resources outside of KC Public Library. My link in case you want to schedule a one-on-one meeting to go through any of those resources, or if you have any other questions. And there will also be a survey. So please fill out that survey so that we can improve on our virtual programming. So with all of that said, I want to go ahead and take a second and thank Sonya once again for your time and your wealth of knowledge. This has been so wonderful, and I'm really grateful that we have been able to get together to put this together. And I also want to thank all of you who participated for your active engagement, your active listening. This is a two-way street. We don't want this to be a static thing. We don't want to be talking at you. So you sharing your experiences, sharing your questions and concerns is so valuable. And so I just want to thank you for that. Oh, Vivian, you used Legal GPS. Legal GPS is an awesome resource. I didn't mention that here because I don't know if it's necessarily relevant, but if you haven't officially registered your business, Legal GPS is amazing as far as like just figuring out what you need to know from a legal standpoint, because there's just so much in there. And I can help you with that as well. So all of that will be in the LibGuide. There's also tools that help with market research. I should probably stop there because I could go on all day. I know we have about 5 minutes left, and I just wanted to check just in case, are there any last questions, any lingering comments, anything that, anything that's pressing that has not been addressed yet? Going once?
Going twice?
Okay.
I just wanted to say, Sonya, thank you. You gave a lot of good advice, and I have some good thoughts of where I need to go.
You're very welcome. My pleasure. If you, last time Yosef reached out to me and I tried to help him with some other things. So if I can ever be of assistance to any of you, you have my contact information. Feel free just to reach out. I'm happy to help. I just want people to be successful. That's all I want. I
love your orange egg. It is unforgettable for a company name and icon.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Hadiza. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. This has been great. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end this session. Again, thank you, everybody, for joining, and you will hear from me fairly shortly.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.